It's also very important, as you say, that people get to witness this moment, particularly because when we think about tomorrow and the capacity that is allowed in terms of the funeral. I mean, we already know that Prince Butheleziz's family has asked many people to actually observe the funeral at home via television because they are worried about, if they will be able to accommodate everybody. I mean, if the memorial service was anything to go by, they know how many people want to witness this occasion.
Can you see the people lined streets too?
All right, of course, as you can see there, hundreds of Amabutho accompanied there by community members lining the streets, walking the long distance, accompanying the late Prince Butheleziz's body home. All roads at this moment leading to KwaPhindengane. I understand that Simpiwe is on the line with us. Simpiwe, of course, we are witnessing this moment, of course, this procession cutting across Ulundi town, very significant at this point in time. I would imagine the family thought it important that everybody, gets a glimpse of this, procession as, all roads lead to, of course, Butheleziz's home and, of course, as a lead up to the funeral that will be taking place tomorrow.
Carrying the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is now en route to, his home at KwaPhindengane, the rural village of Emahlabathini. And Unathi, many of the people who are here, are in a celebratory mood. I haven't seen many people crying, but what I've seen is people who are joyous, who are screaming, who are singing, taking up their cell phones to record this historic moment, because as you would imagine, Unathi, that everyone here knows Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi as the traditional prime minister who served the AmaZulu nation for over 7 decades. you are seeing there in your visuals hundreds and hundreds of Amabutho who are accompanying the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi lining up the streets. I mean, really, from where I am, I can certainly tell you that the rural town of Ulundi has really come to stand still, with thousands of people, lining up the streets, witnessing, this historic moment as hundreds of Amabutho and IFP supporters gather really to, accompany the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to his home at Mahlabathini. The journey, Unathi, as we have been saying earlier on, is about 10 kilometers from the mortuary to the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. As I speak to you now, we are just about to exit the town and now heading to the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Police have had their hands full trying to contain the situation, as you would imagine. Many media houses and many vehicles wanting to be part of this particular moment where we are seeing hundreds and thousands of people, gathering, along the route where Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's body is being taken to his home. This is the final journey that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi will be making to his home before, of course, the official funeral state, the special official funeral category 1 that he has been accorded by President Cyril Ramaphosa. In your visuals, I'm not sure what you are seeing, but I'm seeing the IFP President Velenkosini Hlabisa leading Amabutho as they are busy, on that walk to KwaPhindangene, as they are accompanying the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Many residents, Unathi, that we have been speaking to from this particular area of Ulundi, I mean, since the news broke of Prince Buthelezi's demise, they have been, saying that they are devastated because they regarded him not only as a political leader, but as a community leader, really, who was able to, assist in many areas of their lives. Some of them, of course, speaking during the memorial service, which was held on Wednesday, saying that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has lived many lives in one life, really, having been an inkosi of the Buthelezi clan at the age of 29, and also having served the AmaZulu nation as the traditional prime minister since for over 7 decades, and also, of course, having formed the Inkatha Freedom Party, the IFP, which is the main opposition party here in KwaZulu-Natal in 1975, and of course handing over the reins to current President Velenkosini Hlabisa, who is part of this group of Amabutho that is on this journey accompanying Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. A lot has been said, Unathi, about his legacy and his contribution in helping to shape, democracy in South Africa. I mean, some of the IFP leaders in the province going as far as to say that they don't think there will be anyone like him in the near future. I mean, that speaks to the caliber of a man that they regard him to be. But of course, as they are celebrating his life and celebrating his achievements, of the clashes that were there between the ANC as well as the IFP, especially in the province of KwaZulu-Natal in the early 80s as well as the late 1990s, where we saw nearly about 20,000 people losing their lives during, of course, those clashes. We have had an opportunity, to interact with himself a couple of years ago, and we posed these questions about the clashes, and he was always adamant that at no point did he order any
Yes. Okay. All right, Mama. Are they still on our visuals? Okay, sharp. Okay, bye. Hello? Hello? Hi. Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Francis, a very good evening to you and good evening to our viewers at home. You will probably see live in our pictures, Francis. This is the funeral cortege as it makes its way from the Ulundi mortuary en route to KwaPhindangene residence, which is the home of IFP founding father and President Emeritus Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi. As you can see in our visuals now, Francis, and we must apologize to our viewers. At some point our visuals will be a little bit shaky, but we are on the back of a van trying to give our SABC News viewers full coverage of what is happening in the town of Ulundi. If you can see thousands of people that are lining this main road as we head 10 kilometers to KwaPhindangene. They are on their knees as a sign of respect as the founder of the IFP, Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi's coffin passes by. We're seeing women, we're seeing men on their knees, and this is a sign of respect. Many of them saying that indeed this is a dark day for the people of Ulundi, for the people of the Zululand district. Many speaking about the void that is now will be left following the passing of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi from Amabutho, the Zulu regiments who have lauded and praised him for serving the Zulu nation, the AmaZulu nation, for over 7 decades. To the family, of course, they've repeatedly been saying how difficult a time this is for them, and of course for the IFP, from the IFP members right up to the leadership of the IFP, many of them saying that they are at a loss. These are going to be big shoes to fill. Many saying that this area will never be the same again. If you look around the area and some of the development that we are seeing here, Francis, many saying that this is the work of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and they were still looking forward to a lot more that he was going to do. Of course, he had retired from politics, handing over the reins to the now president of the IFP, Velenkosini Hlabisa, but they continue to say that he was someone that community members of the IFP, leaders of the IFP could always go to for counsel. Whatever this community needed, he was always there for them, and he certainly had big plans to further further develop this area of Ulundi, and of course moving towards the rural village of Mahlabatini, where he was born. The amount of people that have come out here today, young and old, many of them saying that they could not miss an opportunity to at least catch a glimpse for them to be able to pay their respects, either in song, by cheering, by kneeling on the ground as a sign of respect to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, of course, as he makes his final journey home to Mahlabatini, where he was born in 1928. Earlier on, we saw the town of Ulundi, Francis, come to a complete standstill. Stores were closed. Hundreds of people coming out to catch a glimpse of the funeral cortege as it was making its way through the town. Of course, we're just going to try now and we do apologize to our viewers, we're just going to try now to move slightly, just to pan our camera so that you get a view of what we can see behind us. Amabutho still walking beside the hearse, and the plan, from what we understood speaking to the leaders of the Zulu regiments, was that they were going to walk at least 3 kilometers. We were then going to be met by another group of Amabutho that were then going to take over. And as we continue this 10-kilometer journey, Amabutho are waiting at different points to take over. And of course, when we get to the Kwapindangene residence, the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the regiments or Amabutho under the Buthelezi clan will be waiting to receive Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the traditional prime minister of the Zulu nation, who has served 3 kings, from King Cyprian Kabheka Zulu to King Zwelithini, Goodwill Zwelithini Kabheka Zulu, and now the reigning king, Misuzulu Zwelithini. Of course, you would have also during the week heard us speak to the regent of the Buthelezi clan, Inkosi Umpiyakhe Buthelezi. Of course, he has, due to the fact that Prince Buthelezi was involved in politics and also was appointed as a traditional prime minister, he could not then assume both positions of being the traditional prime minister as well as the regent of the Buthelezi clan. And he then has appointed regents. The current regent is the 9th regent of the Buthelezi clan, having started in 1971. And he, together with the king's praise singer, Mr. Ubaba Buzetsheni Mdletshe, they are in one of the vehicles directly behind the hearse. Of course, they Inyosi Mdletshe, or the king's praise singer, continues to chant Buthelezi clan names as we make our way through this 10-kilometer journey to Kwapindangene. The visuals that you see behind us is the funeral cortege. Hundreds of people that have come out to bid their farewells to Inkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Once we get to the home, we understand that the body will then be removed from the hearse and taken into a hut where the elders of the Buthelezi clan will then go inside, and certain rituals will then be performed for about an hour. Thereafter, the body is going to be taken out to a marquee that has already been prepared for mourners, who are then going to be able to come and pay their respects. The family is saying and indicated that it is going to be a closed casket. but members of the public and mourners will still be able to get an opportunity to come through today for the service that is going to take place once we get to the family home. Your visuals now, you're seeing the hearse sitting in front of the main hearse is Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi' son, Zuzifa Buthelezi. The funeral charge is now moving a little bit to Francis. Is moving a little bit faster now, Francis, and that is because we are racing against time. You'd remember that it was said about family as well as the IFP that they need to get the body home before the sun sets, and so that is why we are now seeing this cortege racing a little bit faster, because they have to get to the homestead before the sunset. Francis, I'm going to leave it with you for now as we continue to watch our vehicles as we move a little bit faster, and we'll be chatting to you a little bit later. Francis? On the back of a van, he can't check levels now. We're on the back of a van, we can't check levels. Oh, sorry. Turn around. Yes, studio, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. There's no way. We're on the back of the van. He's hanging on for dear life. Okay. Okay. Okay, sure. Okay. Okay. Hello? Yes. Oh, manja. Oh, guys, can you please, can you please go to the other guys abamile? I mean, I'm on the back of a van. Yeah. Uhleli phansi sisi uhleli yena mina I'm standing on the back of a van abakwazi ukuya koNonjabulo at least who are able to land. We're literally hanging on. Right. Once I stop then yes, but now the moving. Ngicela ukusilinde kancane nje. Bahlezi phansi, uSimphiwe uhlezi phansi, mina I'm not. Can you just wait a bit until I stop? I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm saying good, I'm sitting at the back of a van. So as soon as I get there. Eh? Angunini ngimile. Yes, sis. Hey. And inkinga siyagijima, that's the thing. I'm literally hanging on for dear life kule moto ngawi. Okay, ngilindeke ngifike. It's fine. We're almost at the home. Sengizokwehla. I'm on 10. Okay, once I get to the family home, I won't be able now. Ngizolimala la. Okay. Ngeke phela. Hey. Kunabantu abahlela baye kubona. Khona uRay lapha nobani. Hey. Turn to Hello? Yes? Okay. Okay, sorry. No, there's other people calling, irritating me. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, sharp. Okay. You okay, too?
Yep. Sabelana akwazi ukuvinjwa hash man. Mama buhamba na. sanibona. Ninjani kodwa?
Siyasibonana kabi.
Sibonana
ngezinto ezinye.
Hey.
Thank you, Francis. Yes, we are about, I'd say, less than a kilometer away now from the homestead. Of course, we are going to be moving now a little bit slow because the group of Amabuto that was waiting to receive the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has now joined the funeral cortege, and they are ahead of us. If you see in our visuals from our vantage point, they have now surrounded the hearse as they make its way closer to KwaPhi Ndangene. You are seeing scores of local community members of the IFP, young and old, that have been lining the streets. Since we last spoke, Francis, it's thousands of people that have come out, completely bringing the KwaNongoma to a standstill. And of course now this is the road that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi would have taken millions of times when he was going home, and now he makes his last journey here to his home. Of course, as I indicated earlier on, Francis, what we understood from what the elders briefed us in terms of what is expected once we get to the family home is that Amabuto and senior members of the Buthelezi clan, as well as the family led by the chief mourner, Prince Zuzifa Buthelezi, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's son, they will then remove the coffin from the hearse. It will then go into a hut that was built at the home for rituals for about an hour. There are rituals that need to be performed. Thereafter, the hearse, the coffin, I beg your pardon, will then be taken into a marquee that has been prepared, and this is for the thousands of mourners that are expected to come through to the family home today. The coffin will be a closed coffin according to the wishes of the family, but they did say that members of the public, close friends of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, would be able to come through to pay their respects. Of course, we're seeing thousands of Francis of locals that have come out in their numbers. There are also international guests that are expected to arrive, including the former Nigerian president, Mr. Olusegun Obasanjo, a very close friend to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. In fact, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi delivered the first Obasanjo lecture in Nigeria, and recently the Mangosuthu Buthelezi Foundation extended an invitation when they launched the foundation, extended an invitation to the former Nigerian president to deliver the main address at the launch of Prince Mangosuthu's foundation. So they have been very dear and close friends for quite some time. In fact, I think, Francis, that was probably the last time that former Nigerian president saw in person Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. The numbers of people, Francis, that have come out here, thousands and thousands of people have come out here lining the street. For some, this will probably the last time they at least get to wave and bid their farewell. Those that will possibly not attend the funeral. We are expecting about 20,000 people to attend the funeral. But by looking at the numbers of people, Francis, that have come out here today, it does look like the venue that has been arranged, being the Prince Mangosuthu Stadium, might not be able to take the capacity of people that we are seeing here. We are told that there are buses that are coming from as far as Gauteng. Those buses are en route from Mpumalanga and other provinces as well, bringing supporters of the IFP, bringing Amabutho, and they are expected to arrive from tonight overnight. You're just seeing in our visuals more and more people making their way to KwaPhindangene residence. We are now about a kilometer or even less away from the family home, Francis. Thousands of people that you are seeing in your visuals, and of course right in front we have the Zulu regiment, Amabutho, who are accompanying their traditional prime minister. They've been saying to us, Francis, since the news of the passing of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, that indeed it's a dark day for the Amazulu nation, considering the life of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, his dedication to the Zulu nation. They said he has served with a distinction, and he has really grown and united the Amazulu nation. I think many people across South Africa saw the role that he played just before or following the passing of the late King Goodwill, the role that he played before the crowning of King Misuzulu KwaZulu-Natal, despite the differences, the tensions within the Amazulu royal family, but he was able to steer things along until King Misuzulu was eventually crowned. And just speaking of King Misuzulu, just to remind our viewers again that over the past couple of days they might have been wondering where King Misuzulu. The king does not attend a funeral. Instead, he sent a delegation. He sent a delegation to the family. We also saw members of the royal family. If I remember, I think it was on Tuesday, they all came out to pay their tributes and pay homage to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi in person. And we're speaking to some of the members of the royal family, Francis, Prince Tulani Zulu, the brother of the late king. And he is still, he is part of the cortege here today, and saying that today this is a difficult day for him. Prince Buthelezi played a huge role within the royal family, and he will sorely be missed. Of course, we have also in the midst of this cortege the president of the IFP, and I was just looking at his facial expression. He really look like a lost man. He has been saying how difficult this period has been for him, that they don't know how they're going to be able to continue without Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, but the promise that they have made is that in his honor they are going to continue to grow the Inkatha Freedom Freedom Party, the members of the public that have come out here in their numbers, locals, community members from this area of Mahlabatini also coming out in their numbers, also saying that he leaves a huge void. We were speaking to community members throughout the week, in fact neighbors of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who would tell us that they would never go to bed hungry. Whatever they needed, if he wasn't at home, they could always go knock on the door and somebody was going to be able to help him. There was a lot that he did in terms of development for this area, education, the promotion of education for young people. There was a lot that he did. A community development as well, and these are all the things that they are going to miss from him. You remember when we were driving past the town of Undi, we were saying there, Francis, that that town would possibly not had been destroyed had it not been for the role that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi played during the unrest, where at 93 years old he went out at midnight to stop people that were intent on looting the town, explaining to them what the town would have meant to them. And so a lot of people just pointing just to the town to say, we have a town today, we have jobs today, most importantly, because of the effort of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Neighboring towns as well saying that they were saved because he is the one that sent out Izinduna, he sent out headsmen and Amakosi to go out to the towns to ensure that they protect the town. So certainly, Francis, the sentiments that have been made by people young and old, either in traditional leadership or within the structures of the ANC, how difficult this moment is for them. We are now approaching, as you possibly might see in the distance there, Francis, the marquees. That is the we have now arrived essentially at the KwaPhindangene residence. In fact, we're now about 500 meters away from the KwaPhindangene residence. And as I said, just to remind our viewers, once we get to the home, Amabutho, members of the Buthelezi clan, led by the chief mourner, his son, will then remove the coffin from the hearse. It will be taken into a hut where rituals will be performed for the next hour or so. Thereafter, the body will be taken into a marquee, and this to allow for the thousands of people that we are seeing to be able to be part of the service, and those that would like or didn't have an opportunity during the week to come and pay their respects to the family. Francis?
Okay, sure. All that. We've got the 5 games. That's what it's on.
Bona masingena la sophuma kusasa.
We are now at the main gate of KwaPhindangene residence, and as I speak to you, the Amabutho that have been accompanying the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi are at the main gate of his home, where they are going to be taking his body inside the residence. It's not quite clear though at the moment, Francis, if the thousands or hundreds rather of Amabutho and IFP supporters who have been accompanying the body will be allowed to enter the residence of KwaPhindangene. As you would imagine, thousands of them have been, lining up the streets since that journey began from the mortuary all the way to the KwaPhindangene village in Mahlabathini. The first group of Amabutho is now standing next to the main entrance of the KwaPhindangene residence, as of course that has carrying the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is also, approaching the main gate of his home. From here, Francis, we believe that once the body has entered the residence, then there is going to be some family rituals that are going to be performed by the family. This, of course, leading up to the funeral service that is going to be held tomorrow, which was declared by President Cyril Ramaphosa as a special official funeral category 1. On my visuals, Francis, I can see Prince Ntuthuko Zuzifa Buthelezi. Of course, he's accompanying the hearse that is carrying the body, which is now about to enter the residence of KwaPhindangene. The rural town of Ulundi came to a standstill, Francis, throughout the afternoon, really, when we saw thousands of residents, and not just IP supporters, but also just residents in their normal clothes, waving and taking out their cell phones, recording this very historic moment, because you would understand that many of the people who live in this rural area of Ulundi, held Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi in high regard. When we spoke to some of them earlier on in the week, they said that he stood for, the development of this particular area, and he also stood for you know, the Amazulu royal household being united. He was hailed for a number of really, initiative in uniting the Amazulu nation. As I speak to you, Francis, I believe the main gate has now been opened for the hearse that is carrying the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to enter the residence of Kwapinda Ngene, and the hundreds of IFP supporters as well as Amazulu regiments, Amabutho, have now been told to stand next to the gate to allow the hearse to make its way inside the premises of the residence. Francis.
a mirror dimly, but then face to face I know in part, but then I shall know even though as I am known.
None of us lives to himself, none of us dies to himself. If we live for the Lord, and if we die for the Lord. So then whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's.
The eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms.
In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not, I would have told you, I'm going there to prepare a place for you.
Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor the heart conceived what God has prepared for those who love him.
Sikholwa ukuthi uJesu wafa wabuye wavuka. Ngakho siyakholwa ukuthi uNkulunkulu uyakubaletha abaleleyo uJesu kanye naye. Ngakho ithutuzanani ngalamazwi.
Walking and praying, and even in this procession we've seen facets of the life of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the traditional side with the Amabutu flanking the vehicle carrying the casket, now the religious side, and of course there was the political stately side, and we know that dignitaries have arrived at the residents in KwaPhadingeni. Let's go back as that prayer, that walking prayer continues.
Nazinto ezizayo akukuba namandla ukusahlukanisa nothando lukaNkulunkulu olukuKristu Jesu Nkosi yethu.
Ungazikhumbule izono zobusha bami, kodwa ngikhumbule ngomsa wakho.
The SABC News' Natasha Piri is at the homestead where the body has arrived, and of course the idea was that the arrival would happen before sunset. Natasha, what is happening right now? And there were so many people trying to get in. Just tell us about the access control, who has been allowed in, and what is happening from your vantage point.
What you're seeing right now are the various, church leaders that are actually walking ahead of the family, and behind them is Amabutu. Of course, just at the far end, I can see the spokesperson of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's political home, Mkhululeko Hlengwa, as well as IFP President Mr. Velenkosi Nihlabisa Francis. Of course, what we saw when these church leaders came in, as well as, his longtime friend, Reverend Musa Zondi, as well as Bishop Thabo Makgoba, as them leading the family in prayer. And of course, you could see, various family members visibly, sad. Francis, of course, this is as the family will be paying their last respects to the Zulu Prime Minister, and of course, the head of the Zulu clan, Francis. We've seen a lot of people, friends, families, some from his political home in this past week coming in and paying their respects. Some saying that really a tall giant has actually fallen The baobab, some have said, of the Zulu nation has fallen, Francis. A lot of people just, talking about the great man that late Zulu Prime Minister actually was. Today we were just speaking with various community members in and around, this area. And of course, they've been saying that there was so much development that the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was actually invested in his area. Because of him, Francis, there is a hospital here, a clinic. Because of him, there are jobs for the people here. There are schools, and therefore he will be really missed. He was described as a man who really loved the Zulu nation and fought for the rights and championed the rights of the Zulu nation. It's quite interesting to know that Francis, in the 1950s, he had actually, formed Ithala Bank, and this bank had actually grown. Right now, it's evolved over the years. It has over 39 branches, and of course over 300,000 clients across the country. And of course, this bank was actually established, Francis, for especially rural people, those who don't have access to commercial banks. And we heard the CEO of Ithala Bank yesterday saying that, the local bank in this area will be renamed to the, Dr. Mangosuthu Buthelezi, in honor of his name and in honor of his vision, Francis, what he stood for, and what he meant to the Zulu nation. Remember, this was a man who was an advisor, Francis, to three kings throughout his life and in his tenure. King Cyprus Bheki Zulu, King Goodwill Zwelithini, and King Misizulu. And of course, what you're seeing right now are various church leaders, of course, just walking and waiting for the family. Of course, they'll be ushered in this tent behind me, Francis, where it looks like a service will be held for him. Earlier on, we spoke to his son, Zuzifa Buthelezi, and of course, he had said that later on there would be a church service for him. And of course, you would understand that the family will then be spending time with him. Remember, this is in line with cultural and traditional rights that need to be afforded to the prince, of course, as the chief of the Buthelezi clan. So, Francis, what you're seeing right now are those visuals of these church leaders that are then leading the family members behind, and of course, the IFP leader there, Ubab Velenkosini, Hlabisa, Francis. Of course, they will then usher the various family members into the tent where a church service will be held. There at the far end, Francis, I'm not so sure if Kwazi Manzi, my colleague, can show you. The family members are being led inside the tent. And of course, after that, you can see the church leaders, the IFP president there, Mr. Hlabisa, and there you can see the Archbishop, Mr. Thabo Makgoba, leading some of the family members inside the service. A lot of praise, a lot of salutation has been pouring in and coming in, not only from South Africans, Francis, but of course from the international community. You've heard there, no surprise, by former Nigerian President, Mr. Obasanjo, just singing of his praises, and also, Francis, just earlier on this year, if you'd remember, there was that Prince Mangosuthu lecture that was held earlier on this year, and in that lecture, you had the former Nigerian president just labeling and describing the relationship between the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi and the late South African former statesman Nelson Mandela as diplomatic, Francis. He recalls many a times that he visited former President Nelson Mandela, the late Nelson Mandela, in Robben Island, and the things that he had to say about the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, saying that he was indeed a man of peace. And we've heard these sentiments from his political home, the IFP, saying that this is a man who who brought about peace, who brought about stability, you know, in the 1980s and the 1990s, Francis, where we saw that acrimonious relationship with the ANC, of course, that unfortunately spilled out to that political violence. Some label it as black-on-black violence, Francis. And the calls, the mounting calls that have been coming in here, Francis, is that the two parties need to make peace and need to reconcile. This was echoed out by a long-standing friend of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, Reverend Musa Zondi, saying that the ANC and the IFP need to come together and reconcile, Francis, for the sake of the people of South Africans. And you know, the Reverend Musa Zondi had been saying, Francis, that this was the late Prince Mangosuthu's dying wish, that Francis, both parties, the ANC, of which the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi actually belonged to. Remember, he served in the ANC Youth League when he was a student in Fort Hare, alongside, you know, people like ZK Matthews, Kenneth Kaunda, the likes of Robert Mugabe. And this is just the wish, his dying wish, his last wish, that the two parties reconcile. We heard there from the ANC Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, saying that in honor of his memory, the memory of the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi, reconciliation needs to happen between the two parties. I mean, we saw at his memorial service there, IFP President Velenkosi Nhlabisa saying that the ANC had actually vilified the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, but also pledging there and vowing that as the IFP they will carry out his legacy, and in carrying out his legacy they will ensure that the party actually grows in leaps and bounds. And this is very crucial, Francis, because I mean, next year you would recall that the country is actually going to a watershed election, Francis. And of course, we just recently saw in the recent weeks or months where the IFP had joined the multi-charter party for South Africa, where the aim for this coalition or pre-coalition government is to actually unseat the ANC government. Francis, what you're hearing and what you're seeing right now are salutations from the family. If I'll just allow us to actually hear and see what's going on right now.
Now, I believe, is the casket being taken out of that vehicle, or preparations to do so. The body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has arrived at the KwaPenangeni residence. the Buthelezi homestead. It will be taken into that structure called a hut or a tent, where there will be some rites performed for about an hour. We understand only family members will be involved in that. Then the closed casket, as per the family wishes, will be taken into a marquee where more people can pay their respects. And we've seen today an outpouring from people on the ground in Ulundi town, in the areas surrounding this homestead, talking about the work that the Prince did in the community. Let's just listen in as that casket is moved forward. Religious, traditional. Let's bring in our international editor, Sophie Mokoena. We've seen an outpouring on the ground, Sophie, and also we are understanding that dignitaries are there tonight, and of course there will be many at the funeral tomorrow, including some who've jetted in, like the former Nigerian president. Tell us more.
Yes, indeed, many are going to be there to pay their last respects, but also to say farewell to the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. But as you can see, the visuals there, the son next to Archbishop Thabo Makgoba leading that body. This is part of the African tradition where the eldest son is always at hand or there to ensure that everything goes according to the wishes of the person who has passed on, but also in relation to the traditions. When they arrived, you heard people talking there before the body was removed from the car. It's because they were talking to him. In African culture, people believe that even though a person has passed on, he can still hear, and they were doing part of the traditional rituals, and therefore now they are getting there in the house and also ensuring that inside the house a similar situation will prevail, where they will start with talking to him, but also talking to whoever they believe in this culture in terms of where to from here. And you can see the son is leading all that. You know that in the culture, African culture, your eldest son is almost your peer in terms of the father. In other words, now he has to step in to ensure that everything is done according to the culture. And you heard one person saying, manje sesifuna aboshenge manje sesifuna aboshenge, hlehlani madoda, hlehlani. He was saying, now we want the clan to come forward. Everybody must take a step back. Now we want the clan to come forward to do the right thing as it's been done in terms of the culture. And of course, then you are correct, many international dignitaries will be there. We'll have people from the United Kingdom, from Germany, from Zambia, and of course, as you pointed out, the former Nigerian president, a friend to the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, is going to be there. But of course, for me, what is also important is the 3 former South African presidents will be there. You know, when Madiba passed on, we saw that picture of the former leadership of the country and the current leadership at that time, and led by President Jacob Zuma then being there. We are going to see a similar picture tomorrow because former President Jacob Zuma will be there, former President Kgalema Motlanthe will be there, former President Thabo Mbeki will be there, and the sitting president, President Cyril Ramaphosa, will lead this powerful, high-powered delegation of government and former government officials, and ANC, of course.
And Sophie, you don't often see the current president and all the living former presidents reflecting together and in the same room. I guess it just points to the importance of this event.
Very symbolic. I hope South Africans are watching and will be watching tomorrow that as there's a package that was earlier on air where we had different voices, particularly the former President Nelson Mandela, when he was alive, his views around the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi and the former President Thabo Mbeki, reflecting at one point in Parliament, saying no one is holy, or no one can claim that he didn't make mistakes at some point in time. We will see that tomorrow. And you'd recall even during the memorial, many parties were actually talking about, yes, some of the issues are controversial, but where to from here? And you'd recall that the EFF, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, talking about that and a backlash, but many are saying now it's the same. The president is going to speak. So how do you criticize certain people and you leave out certain people when we can see that everybody is trying to ensure that peace prevail at this critical moment? And even the IFP is ensuring that everybody does have a say. They do acknowledge where there are issues, because even Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi himself said he was not a saint, and therefore at some point in time, after presenting or giving a report at the TRC on behalf of his political party, he pointed out that he is no saint. You'd recall that powerful image where he was crying, saying, yes, mistakes were done, but I think going forward, where to from here? We will continue to hate each other, but how do we handle such situation? You'd recall he received a standing ovation, crying. And you'd recall at some point in time, it was in 1999 at Thokoza Memorial, where they were honoring those who died during the unrest. Former President Thabo Mbeki walking side by side with Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to ensure that they demonstrate leadership, that yes, we are not proud of this part of the history, but as a nation, we have to find a way to move forward. And that's what Madiba's presidency all along was all about.
So, Sophie, we've heard from the IFP president that Mangosuthu Buthelezi has been vilified by the ANC. That's what he said. And then the EFF's Mbuyiseni Ndlozi got up at the memorial and said Mangosuthu Buthelezi was a man of peace. So you see these divisions, and then he was accused of playing politics. I guess it suggests that the president has to tread carefully tomorrow.
Yes, the president will have to tread carefully tomorrow. This is a very sensitive moment, but also a sensitive province. You cannot, as a leader, create an animosity or, you know, and make statements that are likely going to cause that tension, because we are now moving towards elections, and you want a KZN province not to be a no-go area. All parties must be able to campaign, and therefore I think when he is delivering that message, he is going to have that in mind, to say, as a leader of this country, as a man in charge right now, I have to pull the nation together, and I have to give a way forward in terms of how we handle the differences. I mean, President Ramaphosa was part of the talks at CODESA, and he is very aware, and he had a close relationship also with former President Nelson Mandela. He's fully aware that in terms of the ANC leadership, the senior leadership, some of them who are not here anymore, they wanted peace in this country. And therefore, but taking into consideration that there are families who are still aggrieved, and as we do that, we have to balance the two. And many of those families, we spoke to them leading to this funeral, and they were saying that, yes, it happened, we were hurt, but we have taken a decision to forgive. And therefore, I think that's the spirit in relation to if you want to build a country, but you cannot erase the history, and you cannot be not thinking about those who feel aggrieved. You must also give them space to express their views. But as a leader, as the president of the country, he has to ensure that after tomorrow, nothing happens going forward, particularly ahead of elections. And the leadership of the IFP has done just that. Because I spoke to the former president, Thabo Mbeki's office. They say he spoke to him on many occasions, even recently, asking that the former president must speak to the ANC as an elder to facilitate his return to the ANC. For me, it's not a return to be an active member of ANC or to be a real member of ANC, but how to close that chapter of ANC and IFP. And secondly, him saying the former president also looking at the relationship between Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi and the king. You know, the relationship got very, very tense recently. And these are the two main issues that he wanted the former president Thabo Mbeki to assist, because he wanted peace. So maybe those who are saying he was a man of peace, somehow they are vindicated, because at the end of the day, he tried to ensure that he does show remorse, but also ensure that the country is united.
And he'll just tell us the process from now on and quite explain what actually happened right now. Mr. Buthelezi, thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. So we saw the body of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi being brought into that house. Can you just please explain what happens from now on?
Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has made his final journey home. Amabutho brought his body up as well at Wapindangene. He was received by the Archbishop of Cape Town, Archbishop Makgoba, and the clergy. And the church service is just about to start now, a short prayer service before the main funeral tomorrow.
We also understand that traditional rites have to be performed as well.
Well, we know that the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was Inkosi of the Buthelezi clan. He was Prime Minister of the Zulu Nation, and right now the family has been given space in the sacred crawl for them to come to terms as a family and do the necessary customs which they need to do, whereafter we will begin the short prayer service.
I mean, just as a family member, your personal experiences with him, how will you remember him? And I mean, what did you learn from the late Prince?
Firstly, as the Buthelezi family, we would like to express our heartfelt thanks for the outpouring of love. We have been overwhelmed by the support from all South Africans who have come here to pay their last respects to Prince Buthelezi. Today, the whole town of Ulundi came to a standstill as they honored a man who lived with values of integrity and Ubuntu. And we hope that we, as the family who are left behind, and his party, the IFP, will continue to uphold that legacy.
I like the fact that you speak about the people of Ulundi. I mean, just speaking to them, they speak so much to the development of this area because of him. Some people are saying that they are employed because of him. There are schools, you know, a lot of facilities and service deliveries actually made because of him.
Well, Prince Buthelezi stayed amongst his people. He never left his people. He shared in their sufferings and developed Zululand out of nothing into the economic giant it is today. Therefore, every family in Zululand has been touched by the leadership of Prince Buthelezi. We feel the void, but as a family, we feel strengthened by this comfort and love which we have received from all South Africans across the board.
You talk about the economy. I mean, one thing that I actually found out yesterday is that in the 1950s, he actually founded Ithala Bank. And you look at the bank years down the line, how it has evolved. It has over 300,000 clients, over 39 branches across, you know, the country. and it was developed specifically for rural people who don't have commercial banks.
Well, whatever Prince Buthelezi started has stood the test of time. Like Ithala Bank is still alive even today because he has always had a far-reaching vision, not only for black people, but for all South Africans. And today we celebrate his legacy. He has arrived at home and we pause to reflect on the life of this great man.
You were also involved in IFP youth politics. Just looking at the party and looking at the trajectory of the party, you're heading to the polls next year. The IFP has recently signed the multi-party charter of South Africa, but yet you also have the ANC that says, let's preach the message of reconciliation.
I think the IFP owes it to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to win back the province of KwaZulu-Natal in 2024. The people of KwaZulu-Natal have felt the leadership of Prince Buthelezi when the IFP was leading, and they yearn for that. Our people are ravaged by crime every day. They are ravaged by unemployment. They are ravaged by corruption. And I hope the IFP will uphold the legacy and do it for Umtwana to win the elections in the province next year.
Do you see the reconciliation process actually gaining fruition? You've heard the ANC Deputy President on Tuesday when he came to visit the family saying that in his memory they need to continue this process. His long-standing friend, Reverend Musa Zondi, also saying that his last wish was to reconcile his former party, the ANC, with the IFP. Is this something that will actually be a lived reality in his memory?
Well, it's a tragedy that the ANC did not reach out while Prince Buthelezi was still alive. It would have been much more worthwhile and more meaningful for them to reconcile and correct the propaganda that they spread about him while he was still alive. I think for us as a family and for the IFP, what is important is to uphold the legacy of Prince Buthelezi and to win back the province of KwaZulu-Natal back to the IFP.
Mr. Buthelezi, thank you so much for your time. Of course, that was a family representative, of course, and the mayor of Zululand, just giving some insights as to actually what happens from now on. There will be a church service later on here, Francis, in memory of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. With that said, it's back to you in studio.
Yeka na mina sasihlukana naye mina ngiqo